Yeah, what say you in reaction to this gigantic news, John Paul?
Yeah. Why Cardiff? It's probably like, and that sounds bad, and that's not meant as a slight on Cardiff, because the idea of holding events in is Cardiff is actually we've seen it with Clash at the Castle, didn't we? Like the other year, that there is a massive market for it there. It seems very odd when they're in London. In terms of the arena itself, it's not that big. I mean, behind me, the image I'm using, I don't know where this is from. I'm assuming it's bloody Tom Jones or something. It's like like you say, it's you can go up to 7,500 standing, but about 5,000 seated as well. So I'm assuming it's not too expensive. It'll sell out, and it's fine. But in some ways, you kind of think, okay, you could have been doing a series of shows really around this, and I don't think it would have eaten too much into how many people would have gone to All In. So in some ways I can't understand, because it's not near London, and I think there's a lot, if you're asking the same group of fans to go all the way to Cardiff during the week and then go to London at the weekend, that's a lot. That's like a lot in terms of like travel, hotels, things like that. Do I think it will sell out? Yes. Do I like the idea of them doing some Dynamites and collisions here? Yeah. I never understood, like, no, the next time we're running is just Wembley and nowhere else. It's like, right. Like, I get that the name is All In, but you can pace a few things out. That was always my problem with it, that I thought that they should have been over here a few times. They should be like a regular presence, and that would have been part of your advertisement of, did you like this? Well, you'll fucking love All In, to get people along. I'm surprised they weren't running the co-op in Manchester or any of the other myriad of arenas up there.
Yeah, that almost seems like it's almost like a technicality. Like, I don't know this is the reason, but like they're almost like, well, Wembley's still the England date. This is Wales. This is different. Like, you know what I mean? I could imagine them not wanting to do another England date for that technicality. It's funny because I'm with you. I'm not 100% with you. I'm 98, 97% certain this sells out. Like, it's just based on like all of the AEW numbers recently. Of course, I shouldn't doubt it. Of course, they're going to sell out. There's a 2 to 3% niggling doubt in my brain, just with Cardiff being a little bit difficult to get to on the week of All In. But it probably will sell out, so I think most of the issues are kind of moot. I also understand like maybe why they've left it so late to announce it. I still, like I say, I joked about it, but I think it's daft. If you actually want some momentum and a little bit of like good press, don't put this out after midnight local time on a Wednesday night. I know Dynamite was an hour away, but that still shows you like the lack of attention to detail and care in this company as a whole. That's an issue. And again, like I say, I think they've maybe left it late because they wanted to see how ticket sales go for, Wembley first. They don't want to harm that. They want to let people make their Wembley plans, and then this is like a little add-on. But there are issues there. It's like, I do think it will sell out, like, for the most part, don't get me wrong, and they'll probably counter these issues, but it is kind of a lot to expect fans to travel to Cardiff on the week of a pay-per-view. It is a little bit late to announce it when people, especially people flying in, have already made plans. It is just a little bit odd that it's Cardiff and nowhere else. But again, they will probably sell out, so it's probably moot. But it's so AEW, innit? When we started hearing murmurings that something like this might be coming, like I say, I was just like, there's no way. There's just no way this is going to be true. Like, they won't. I was almost like, well, great, maybe it's part of like a bigger deal, but it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like the tour in the country. It doesn't seem like they're doing a TNA and staying in Europe for a month after All In. It does feel like one and done. So, it feels a little bit half-baked. But again, like a lot of things AEW, they'll probably fall forwards and it'll be fine, on the day. And I'm sure, those tickets will be mostly hot, depending on pricing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm probably, again, more bullish just on the sellout, just because I think it's a market where there'll be fans in and around Wales and Cardiff and the Southwest who'll think, oh, I can go to this show, and they might not have gone to Wembley. Again, and only being 5,000.
2 to 3% doubt. Just should make that clear. As a betting man, we're talking 97 to 1 or 1 to 97. However, JP does the odds.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a little bit. But what's interesting about this is, and it's come up a couple of times in the chat, and I'd be in complete agreement with this. Why didn't they run like a Rampage and Collision taping on the Friday? Like, that would have been something that really would have, like, and then maybe see if they could do Wembley Arena. Now, that might already be booked out. There might be reasons for that. And and everything else. But it would have seemed like you could have done that rather than what it appears to be of like kind of like having pardon me, I mean killed by hay fever here. Why not like doing both tapings together? Because is that not going to knacker them out? Like as well, like I suppose they're getting their mon's worth. And
that
Dylan mentions
that mightn't it? Getting set up for Wembley's not an easy task, and you know they might not just have the bodies after Wednesday. You know they might need Thursday through to the weekend to get set up for All In. Like I could maybe make sense of that as well. Dylan saying that he's not sure they'll sell out right away. That's kind of where I am. Is it going to be an instant sellout? No, but is it going to be a sellout? Yes. A little bit of niggling out there, but yeah, the crowd will be hot, and you know, like I say, regardless of anything, it's going to look better, isn't it, than most Dynamites and Collisions that we're used to seeing here. And as has rightly been pointed out by the chat, this is actually where Tyler Bate and Walter / Gunther happened for NXT UK take over Cardiff. So, you know, wrestling fans are used to the place as well. I think they've clearly waited as well as far as the timing of announcing it, haven't they, for after, you know, WWE have came and gone, and it's kind of like, well, it's our time in the UK now. But again, just a really, really odd, out of left field announcement.
It is out of left field as well, and it's not done. It's amazing because it feels like that this wasn't part of their original plan. Like you would like to have thought that when they were okay, we're running All In, but are we going to run a series of house shows like along with it, house shows, TV tapings around it as well? And they've not really done that. It feels like, oh, okay, we're going to do this the week before. It feels like a very last minute thing, which is like you said about AEW, kind of half baked on this front, and they end up falling forward anyway because we're starved of AEW live content in this country. So unless you're wanting to go to Wembley and make a big weekend of it, and I think there's a thing about this where I don't understand if they're thinking is it's going to hurt the Wembley tickets, because I'm almost viewing that in a separate entity, because that's going to London on a weekend, on a bank holiday weekend in August, and it's going to be very expensive. So it'd be like, well, what those fans who can't go, or maybe just want to go to more AEW, like, why aren't you running the Northwest and the Northeast? Why aren't you doing Newcastle?
Next year, if All In doesn't do more than like 45 to 50,000, like I'd give serious consideration to that next year. I think Tony Khan's too proud to do that, but it might make more sense, you know, to do a more of a tour type of thing. I mean, as far as like, a couple of questions there in the chat. Obviously, you know, you were mentioning there, you know, Cardiff's a busy city for indie wrestling, so there's that. Andy Ogden saying, don't forget to book them Welsh wrestlers. And he's always fighting for the little man. There was a conversation about this on the Discord. I actually don't think that's as ridiculous when you do start to see the wrestlers come out being like, oh, you know, I'm going to try and get myself booked. It's not out of the realm of possibility. AEW do book local wrestlers for Dynamite and Collision all the time in the US, especially if they're taping Dark or ROH along with this, you know, well, not Dark anymore, but you know what I mean, ROH along with this. There's always that possibility. It's more realistic than wrestling.
Don't we call it Rampage these days?
Well, apparently, yeah. But a little bit more realistic, isn't it, than wrestlers being like, pick me for Wembley. Like, yeah, mate, they're going to book you for Wembley Stadium. Not happening. There might be something to aim for there for maybe like one or two local type wrestlers. But they're going to be the questions, aren't they? Like, is it going to be a real go home show? Brahman asks here. I would expect so. But they're going to have you'd expect to have the whole crew over. Like, it's going to be pretty much like the whole. I assume it's not going to be live because they don't seem to have that good a relationship. They have a relationship, but it's just kind of one that just exists with ITV. So I don't think it's going to be like WWE last weekend when SmackDown aired live in this market, which was a really cool thing, and then was on tape delay in America. I think it's just going to be on tape delay for everybody. So I don't necessarily expect that, but I do presume, whatever's happening at All In, all the bodies are going to be there, aren't they? So they're going to want to put the best foot forward in front of a hot crowd. And they could always be winners as well on the pricing front, JP. You know, if they do price this nicely, that's a good win, isn't it? It's a good faith win considering, you know, the gouging we did last weekend.
Do you know what? I was thinking of that, and that was obviously like you mentioned about the point that Dylan said about it might not be selling out, and that's been a constant complaint you've heard about. When Dynamite and Collision are coming to town in the US, the tickets are incredibly expensive, and it's like really you've got to think. Yeah, you've got to think to yourself, it's, you know, this is a smallish arena on a Wednesday. There's a reason why they're running Cardiff. You're thinking when they're looking at the cost of it that they don't gouge them. don't be tempted to. Think of this as like a long-term investment of, we're actually the professional wrestling company where when we come to town, the tickets are all right. Because even, for any complaints we may have about Wembley, the ticket prices are all right. If you want a cheap ticket to go to Wembley, you've got one around 30 odd quid. All right, add in an extra 15 for Ticketmaster.
The 4 for family thing when they announced that last year, it was like, you know what, it's nice to see he's not a good guy when it comes to Fulham and their ticket pricing, as Dylan will tell you, but for wrestling fans, that's nice that a company's actually trying to do something and get like young families through the door. It's something you were looking at, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is, exactly. I've just got to wait till Charlie's too, because of England fans at Wembley in the Euros final that time before. That you never bring in babies to those kind of atmospheres again. So I think they're like kind of out of the question. Whether I could smuggle them into Taylor Swift the night before as well, but I'm more in the main overall with it, like having sort of a bit of time to kind of reflect on this today, thinking, actually, do you know what? I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm glad that there is some recognition of this, because I think if this sells out, there should be the thought of, well, can we go back there again soon? Can we go back there later in the year, in and around November? Like, do we maybe think about running another pay-per-view show, like whether it be in November, December, to kind of, well, probably not, given the way they do it. But in, like I say, not in London, not in Cardiff. I would be going for the Northwest. Like, that'd be what would be, because you would sell that out immediately. And it would make a massive impression.
In Manchester now. Yeah, you've got a second one there that they could use, as well as Liverpool, obviously. Like, yeah, there's the room to do that. I just think make yourselves the babyface in the market, like TNA was. Like, WWE have way too much good press over the last few weeks. Like, do some of that. Full-on takeover. We've got Dynamite and Collision on Wednesday in Cardiff. We're running Wembley at the weekend. We should not stop hearing about that as we get closer. Yeah. I really hope that media blitz is coming. I heard rumour Ospreay was going to be doing some stuff like coming up, so let's hope that becomes true. Like, I want to see more of that. Yeah, make that make this like a second home. Make it like TNA did over the years. We are the type of audience that you could lean into that with as well. So let's hope.
And we've said this before as well, like this, if they think about it like what TNA did, and they do come over here often, there is a crowd for it. Because my God, when we did that Aces and Eights show, one of the things that just blew me away was I was like, this isn't like kind of peak TNA, but my God, the crowds were there and they were completely invested in them as well. So yeah, go with it. Make yourselves the babyface here, guys.